I'm not entirely sure what happened, but the last thing that I had done was set the timing to match 15 degrees on the balancer and 15 degrees on the sniper. And then that night, or a couple nights later maybe, I went to a car cruise, and as I was going on a road that I had been on before, although when I was on it, it wasn't as warm as it was that day. It was only in the 80s, and I was running pretty warm, about 220 degrees according to the sniper, and it seemed to match on the gauge in the car. Now, I do have a gauge on my radiator, but I did not look at it whenever I parked it at the car cruise, because when I pulled in, what I noticed was this. And I've since wiped it off, but there were stains down on my headers, and apparently this sheathing that came on the sniper system melted, because it was covering all these wires. Now, I don't know whether or not the fact that my distributor was moving and screwing up my timing might have caused the sniper to learn incorrect settings, and then whenever I moved the timing again, it was operating on the old settings. Because after the car cruise, we went up to a restaurant and we came home, and the temperature was pretty normal. So I don't know whether it learned in that time, or whether it was a little bit cooler. It was later, but we did come up big hills on the same road. It basically drops down into a valley and comes up the other side, so we came up the other side of it to come home. We were going up the front side of it, or heading west, going to the car cruise, and heading east, coming to home from the car cruise. So what I did, even though it wasn't affected that I could tell, is I tied back all these cables down here better than they were. I have no idea why this thing melted. Did it start to come out and then droop down onto it and melt its way back up? I have no idea, because I wasn't under the hood while I was driving. And on the other side, and that's one of the things I don't know, the temperature sensor here in the block, I don't know, was that wire closer to the, actually it's in the head, but was that wire closer to the manifold, and did that heat it up and cause more resistance in that wire, which might have thrown off the sniper reading? And on the other side, I'm a little bit surprised that it didn't burn through the wire, because when I opened the hood this morning, after it's cooled off, obviously, the wire from the stock temperature gauge in the dash was resting on the header. So I tied that up out of the way. So what I'm going to do is I have some of my own sheathing here. I'm going to put it on here, tie it off, and tie it out of the way so that it can't repeat. And then I think maybe what I'll do is rerun the Sniper Wizard, which hopefully will reset it to out of the factory settings, or what they would be given my specs, the engine size and number of cylinders and the type of ignition, etc. But I'm a little bit concerned that the temperature was running that hot. Now, I had driven it on the highway before, faster, further, and it didn't run hot. So I'm going to go back to square one. I'm not going to video it, but I will report on what happens. I'm going to go back to stock. I'm going to recheck my balancer versus what Sniper's telling me the timing is by setting it to the static 15 degrees, and then another test drive is in order. Okay, I haven't taken it for a test drive, and I'm not going to do that today, but I did, through the Wizard, reset the parameters, I guess, that they use, and I think it went back to original settings. And I did check the static timing, and it was exactly on 15, so the distributor hold down that I put in last week is working. So that's progress. And I did tie my thermostat wires out of the way. There's one tie you can see. I don't know if you can see that. This is the there is the original equipment in the dash temperature sensor, and there's a green wire goes up here into this. That's tied up and out of the way so that it can't hit the header anymore. And over on the other side, I've got that tied up out of the way too. And I don't think it did it because when I opened the hood at the car show to show off the engine, the wire was way up towards the top, so I think that just the sheathing to it fell down onto or near the header. But I've got that tied up out of the way so that that can't happen anymore, and my new sheathing, the plastic sheathing I used, is on there. And I tied up basically everything on that side to make it further away from the headers, because there's transmission cooling lines, which are flexible lines, there's a fuel line, there's a whole bunch of wiring harnesses that mostly are related to the Sniper and to the transmission, but I tied those all together to something solid. And so we ought to be good for some more break-in and testing, but in the meantime I'm going to be investigating why my headlights won't pop up. That'll be possibly next.